Yeah, I know. If you followed my channel for a while, you know that I'm the #1 RNG hater in Monster Hunter. Now, I'm not talking about just any RNG system, but specifically what is known as multivariate probability systems. Like, I have 2 videos about it in Wilds and a whole crash out video in a completely different game. That said, the new talismans added in the last patch are actually fixing the skill system in Wilds and will probably be an extremely positive thing for the game. Not that it was a broken system, mind you, it was just very unsatisfying to use. And now, the new talismans have broke the limitations that made set building so stiff and to some degree unfun. If you haven't been following the title updates for Monster Hunter Wilds, a new patch just came out that implemented a new tier of difficulty for the end game monsters, and it brings a new type of progression in the form of RNG talismans. These talismans can be obtained by hunting high-level monsters and also have different skills combinations and decoration slots that are not currently available in any other piece of equipment. Pretty cool, huh? There's 2 main things that I believe the new talismans will do for the game that I think are actually just great. The first one is that it finally breaks the chains of the separation between weapon and armor decorations. The reason why this was implemented into the game was to support another system that Wilds has that unfortunately didn't really land when it came to adding any kind of value to the game: the weapon swapping system. So, the design decisions behind armor and weapon decos, and also what skills would go into which slots, were made mainly taking the weapon swapping system into consideration. By having a lot of armor skills that are non-weapon specific, you can potentially play 2 very different weapons and still get a very solid benefit from the skills that you have on your armor, while also having more weapon specific skills by having different decorations in your weapons. So for example, skills like Agitator, Weakness, Exploit, or Burst are very desirable skills by pretty much any weapon type, and those go into armor slots. But things like Ballistics, Guard, or Rapid Morph are weapon skills, because they modify or improve weapon-specific traits. This type of design was pretty much made to protect the players from sabotaging themselves by having skills that would have no synergy with their potential secondary weapon. You basically had skills in your armor that were compatible with any weapon, and you'd have weapon-specific skills on each of the weapons that you carry around at a time. The new talismans completely break that dynamic. You are no longer limited to the weapon decorations in order to have weapon-specific skills, meaning that now you can play around a lot more, not only with the skills that you want to have on your weapon, but talismans also come with armor deco slots, which allow you to expand even further into different skills. Here's a list of all the things that you can get from the new talisman system. I will leave a link in the description so that you guys can check it out. I think this list was compiled by the user Whisty, and the information was data mined by the user Dtlnor? I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. The thing is, as you can see, there are skills like Razor Sharp, Fire Attack, Weakness, Exploit, Burst, Rapid Morph, Loaded Shells. In general, there's just a really good mix of armor and weapon skills that will allow you to diversify your set building a lot more. In a game like Monster Hunter, flexibility is extremely important because making your own set is such an integral part of the gameplay and just in general, a very fun process once you start to get into it. By the way, a huge thanks to the people at the Wiggler group, because yet again, they work incredibly hard to compile this data, and they also try their best to interpret it for the people that are not really into math. If you're not aware of Wiggler, they are basically a community of people dedicated to figuring out various game mechanics by getting into the actual numbers. They do things like calculate the damage formula, they work on metasets and sometimes data mining in order to understand things like the new talisman system. I will leave another link in the description with their website so that you can check it out and show some appreciation for their contribution to the community. Another thing that I believe will happen is that now the weapons from the weapon tree can finally really compete with the Artian weapons. As I said before, set building up until now was very limited by the decoration slots that you have on your weapon. And the weapons on the weapon tree are very limited in that regard. Most of them have one level 3 deco slot, then a level 2, a level 1, and that's it. Yes, they also have their own innate skills, but sometimes the design decisions behind those skills are questionable at best. Part of the reason why Artian weapons have been so strong is because most weapons are skill starred by the limited amount of slots that they have, and Artians really allowed you to play a lot more with the skill system. The other culprit behind this was crit boost. We have things like Agitator, Weakness, Exploit, and Max Might as crit-related armor skills, but for some reason, crit boost is a weapon skill? I don't know, man. This is not a minor inconvenience, as crit boost is just the highest increase to damage out of all the weapon skills. And to make utility or comfort skills compete with such a big raw damage increase is just not a good idea. Because take a guess, what do you think players will choose between those? While having crit boost 5 is cool and all, you still want to have the possibility of slotting things like Razor Sharp 3 or even Mind's Eye for some matchups. Some weapons also really benefit from specific skills like loaded shells or I was going to say rapid morph, but we know how that's going. So while every other weapon has to choose between crit boost 3 and something else in level 3, Archons allow you to have both. There were very few weapons that were able to outperform Archons because of that. And here comes the new Talisman system to also completely scramble this situation as well. With how much Talismans improve the flexibility that you can play with when it comes to weapon skills specifically, there's actual chances of having the monster weapons outperforming Archons now. Since in general, Archons could beat monster weapons simply because of the amount of skills that you could slot in them. With the new Talisman system, this is no longer the case. Yes, you could have an Archon weapon with crit boost 5 and other weapon-specific skills, but now that is not enough to completely overrule just how strong are the basic stats that some of the monster weapons have. So yeah, all in all, an extremely positive thing for the game. Sure, there's still a meta, and if you really think about it, the new Talisman system doesn't really increase the power of the hunter by much. It just allows us to have more freedom and more fun by mixing and matching these different skills. Incredibly welcomed change to the game. Alright, so that's about it for the positives. If you don't want any exposure to dooming or to critical thinking, get out of the video. Just go away. I'm serious. What I'm about to say is not even that controversial. It's just that I know that some people simply want to enjoy the game for a while and they don't want to think about the possible downsides of the new update just yet, so if that's you, thanks for watching up to this point. I'll see you around. So, the way that we farm these new talismans is by fighting the new 9-star monsters, which have effectively become the highest tier of difficulty in the game. Hell, like, I was fighting 9x3 Tempered Raidao yesterday, and it took me longer to capture it than what it takes me to kill the Arc Tempered version. It's not looking too good. I want to make a prediction based on this new state of the game, which is from here to maybe the next month, we will start finding posts about farming fatigue. So, as we said before, in order to get these new talismans, you have to fight the 9-star monsters. I'm actually not sure if there's non-tempered versions of 9-star monsters because I haven't been able to find any of those in the game yet. The thing is that in order to farm these talismans, you need to be fighting these extremely aggressive, high damage dealing monsters, right? Well, people have been asking for more difficulty in the game and for more variety in the monsters that can be challenging. Tying the new progression system to the highest level of difficulty while offering not much of an edge over these monsters is not the best idea. Let me explain. Let's imagine that you're about to fight Fatalis for the first time in Iceform. When you first fight him, you can immediately tell that this is going to be a steep learning curve. You're taking massive damage from his attacks. Not only that, but this might be the first time where you actually time out, which may hint at your lack of damage output. So basically, if we look at this in more simple terms, when you get to Fatalis, the hunter's power level is just below Fatalis's power level. In a way, your stats give you just enough power to close the gap in the quote-unquote power level by polishing your gameplay and your knowledge of this fight. Once you get good, you can outmatch Fatalis. But then when you finally beat Fatalis a couple of times and you get his gear, two things happen. One, you can obviously stop farming what has been a rather stressful fight. And two, if you do go fight him again with the Fatalis gear, you will fare a lot better because you have become a lot stronger with that set. In a way, your new stats can carry you a little bit more in order to secure the hunt compared to your previous gear. This is a core aspect of progression in any RPG. Once you beat the new challenge and get the spoils of battle, you should have an increase on your power that will allow you to take this challenge again and now overcome it with a lot more ease. I don't think the new talisman system is managing to do that. Because in order to farm them, you have to face the highest level of difficulty in the game for almost none of the gain. What's fun about the new talismans in Wilds is that they allow for a lot of diversity in set building and access to more comfort skills. But as I said, they don't increase the power of the hunter all that much. Whenever you fought Fatalis, do you ever remember feeling like tired or just a bit stressed after a while? Well, it's kind of expected if you did, because Fatalis is one of the highest levels of challenge that Iceborne has. It requires your full, undivided attention and the peak of your performance, and to be operating at that frequency for too long can be tiring for some people. This is why I believe the new grind might generate a level of fatigue in the people that engage with it, because you have to be at the top of your game. But it doesn't seem that there will be a point where you can kind of fall back onto the stats that your gear has to carry you in the hunt. I have to make this distinction because I know some people will completely miss the point. This is not me saying that I didn't want more difficulty in the game. The fact that Capcom has heard this request and actually made progressive changes to the game in order to meet the players halfway has been extremely positive. It is actually a very rare commodity to have such a big company listen to the players and take actions based on their feedback these days, so thanks for that. But no, this is an observation on the dynamics generated by the specific design decisions behind the new Talisman system. It's a system that puts you on the treadmill and you can never seem to get off of it. A progression system should have a foreseeable end, a point where the efforts that you put to make that progress start to be reflected on your experience in the game by reducing the amount of effort that it takes to engage with said system again. You engage with the highest level of challenge, but eventually you complete that content and can opt out of that level. Very much like what happens with the Arc-Tempereds. You get their armor, and after that, if you fight them again, it's just for fun. Same thing happened with Fatalis. You kill him, get his gear, and now you can go do something else. And also have a much easier time farming in the Guiding Lands, a progression system that was there before Fatalis. In my opinion, this has always been an incredibly important element of progression, and when it's not there, well, it's very easy to get burnt out. What I'd like to see is just more options. I'd like to be able to get these new talismans by hunting lower level monsters, even if that means that you're getting less rewards. Maybe it wouldn't be as optimal, but I could do it with my eyes closed. I would like if the highest difficulty gave you more rewards, because fighting 9x5 Steve or 9x5 Gore Magala is fucking daunting. I would like it if I could change some of the parameters of the quest to get even more rewards. Like, what about being able to reduce the time limit, reduce the amount of times that I can cart, or even lock restocking out of the quest completely, in exchange for exponentially more rewards at the end of the fight. That way, I'm really incentivized to get good and play my damn heart out, because it actually feels worth the while in the end. There are more stakes. You know, this would be like throwing a few roguelike elements here and there. But what do we have now? You get to fight for your life against the hardest monsters in the game for 5 talismans, of which you have a 3% drop chance on a rarity 8, by the way. I don't know, man. So anyway, we'll see. As I said before, this is nothing but a prediction. Maybe, hopefully, everyone is just happy, grinding away at their talismans, and to be fair, super happy for you if you do. At the end of the day, this is just my impression, and it's very likely that I might end up being wrong about it. But I still wanted to know what you guys think about this, and just what has been your impressions on the new talisman system so far. If you liked the video, please do any of the things shown in these stickers. I'm gonna be paying attention to your comments, and also don't forget to check the Wiggler website that I mentioned before. I hope you guys have an absolute blast with the new title update. Again, what the new talismans are doing for set building and customization is so positive for the game right now. It is really appreciated. As always, my name is Sun, and until next time.